Are you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers at WagerTalk.com today. We leave all that nonsense for the other guys. And for a limited time, new users get their first daily picks purchase up to $40 for only $1. $1? Whose idea was that? Johnny Detroit? I guess so. To redeem this special, just go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper and their picks package using coupon code TRYWagerTalk when checking out.
Man, I missed that music. That feels good to hear that again. I hope you viewers and listeners are just as excited as we are because it's reunited and it feels so good. It's been a week since we've been together. I'm Dan Alexander, and we got the experts with us. Adam Trigger, Tokyo Brandon, here they are, and we are pumped to be back. It feels like it's been longer than a week, to be honest with you. So good to see you guys. We'll start with you, Trig. How's it been since we last talked? You have a good fourth. How was the concert with Prez, and how's things going for you and your clients?
So I had a great time out with Prez last night, but we didn't go to the concert because the show got canceled. Like right before the show, we find out it's canceled. So we ended up going out in Saratoga. We had a great time. So I was out pretty late last night. 4th of July was great. It's also my birthday weekend, so I had a good weekend. As far as betting is concerned, a little bit of a losing streak for me in KBO for like the first time all year. But thankfully, I believe I'm on now like a 13-4 run in Major League Baseball. So MLB has been more than picking up the slack. 2-0 day in Major League Baseball yesterday. Where I'm going for KBO, I'll talk about on the show later. So I really have, I don't have any packages up for sale right now, which means you're going to get all my thoughts here for free. But I would say, the 3-day package is a good deal regardless. But I will have a 5% play up for tomorrow at some point tonight. And I entered Thursday as a pass in the system. So even if you buy today, you're not going to get charged for Thursday. And I'll have at least one 5%er this weekend in Major League Baseball. So if you're ever going to get a 3-day pass, considering a 5% play is $35 and a 3-day pass, I believe, is $59, or the 7-day pass right now discounted for $99, this is the weekend to do it because you're going to get at least one 5%er and possibly more than one. So that's all I've got for today, and I'll have all my Korean baseball thoughts on the show.
And those 5%ers will usually run you 35 anyways, so definitely able to save some money. And transparency, what we do on air, behind the scenes, it's tantamount and key in what we do here with WagerTalk. So, one side of the diamond not doing too hot, the other side is heating up. That's why you buy the all access. Get all the plays from our guy Trig right there. Tokyo Brandon, every time that we come on, we're either talking about you in the top last 30, top 1, 2, or 3, the last 7, the last 3. Well, let's look at the past year, the fact that you're up 341% in profit. You have to be feeling good. How have you been since we last talked? And do you guys celebrate, or do you personally celebrate the 4th of July when you're in Tokyo, or people look at you sideways when you do that?
I feel good. Do 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 do. I knew that I would. Okay, you don't have the girl ready. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Okay. So, it's been pretty good. I've had one losing day in the last week, and that day was yesterday. So I went 2-4 yesterday. I was minus 5 units, 5%, and I just won that 5% back with the Astros, which just finished about 20 minutes ago. So. Not bad. I guess I'm pulling even. Last 365 days, it's pretty much tripled the bankroll. Last week and last 30 days, number one at WagerTalk in all sports profit. So it's going quite well. Twitter people are going to be Twitter people. I got some guy writing me, "Oh, you screwed me yesterday," and all this stuff. It's like one losing day in 7. The Twitter people are going to be Twitter people. I just wrote him back. I'm like, dude, I'm up I'm up 300% in the last 365. So if you lost all of your stuff betting my plays yesterday, then you don't know how to bet, guys. Betting one play is a lot different. Like Adam said, get a package. Go with us. It's like buying stock. If your Apple stock dips down 50 cents yesterday, it doesn't mean Apple stock sucks. Apple stock is great. So you should have been riding it for the last year, not just one day. So yeah, get a package. And I've got a 4% play out today for $9. It's a one play in the Japanese league. It's a money line play, and I'm going to be giving out 2 client plays on the show today.
Well, and I don't think either of these guys, really anybody at WagerTalk, ever said, hey, I will win every single play that I put out. If you believe that's going to happen, I also have a bridge I'd like to sell you. Maybe the Twitter handicappers with the Max Goat whale plays and whatnot, maybe they're hitting 100%. But like these guys, yeah, they never even though they have they have the record in their Twitter bio and everything. How could they be lying?
Win.
Yeah. So I can completely echo these guys' sentiments. That's why you run long term. These guys, they hate it when they lose a play, whether it's a 2% or a 5% play. That's why they stay grinding and they stay, diving into the numbers so you don't have to. So I can completely back up what these guys are saying. The best in the world, some of their plays are going to lose right around that 50% of the time. So the long term package is definitely the way to go there. And we have some good deals. Head on over to wt.buzz/deals to see those. Guys, let's get into our standings update here, as it's been a week since we talked, and Kiwoom's still doing all they can to make SSG sweat. 8-2, both of those teams at the top in their last 10 games. Same thing with LG. They're humming as well. 5 straight for the Wiz. Kia Tigers staying interesting as well, even though 8 straight losses for them. Wonder when they're finally going to snap out of that. And you can see, the kind of best of the rest there. NC joining those teams in that 30-win range with Hanwha just really still in a bad way, despite coming off a win as we head into today's show. So speaking of it being a long time, Trig, it's been a long time since we took a look with you at some of these roster moves, maybe some injury updates and how that's going to affect it. Believe it or not, we have the All-Star break right around the corner. So how have you been tracking these rosters? And as we're reaching that kind of quasi midway point, how do you think that's going to affect some teams down the stretch?
Yeah, well, when we talked about standings, which I think was last week, or maybe 10 days ago, I said you're not going to see much movement. And even with Kia's losing streak right now, you're still like that picture, those standings with the top 5. I don't think it's going to change the rest of the year. I really do think that's where the drop off is. I think the top 5 teams are significantly better than the bottom 5 teams. And I don't see any way that one of those bottom 5 teams cracks the top 5. Well, we'll start with Kia. The reason they've lost 8 straight games, they can't catch a break with the injuries and the sort of just the fact that haven't gotten any rainouts up until this week. They've had to just max out their pitching. They had to do it against the 2 best teams in the league, playing SSG and Kiwoom SSG back to back. So I'm not worried at all about their 8-game losing streak from a long-term perspective with this team. But, I mean, man, Socrates Brito gets hit in the face. Looks like he's going to be out for 4 weeks. Thankfully for Kia, they do get a break by the fact that we have an 8-day All-Star break in Korea. So after we got this series this weekend, and then the series to start next week. After Thursday, we're off. Korean baseball's off for 8 days, which actually will very much help Kia, in my opinion. The KT Wiz, interesting scenario with KT because they're cruising right along now. They got pretty much all of their guys back. Wes Benjamin is in the mix now. I believe, he's going to pitch coming up here this weekend. But Baek-ho Kang hits the DL. And if you remember back to the beginning of the year, he's the guy that went on the DL right before the season, and KT was horrific out of the gate. They couldn't hit, and a big reason for that was Kang was not in the lineup. So going to be interesting to see how his absence, he's probably out until, I don't know, end of August or mid to late August for Kang. going to be interesting to see what that does to KT, although my gut tells me that they're still a lot better, even without him, than they were at the beginning of the season. Kaiwoom, they've been the team that's avoided any real injury issues all year. However, Jung-Hoo Lee left the game the other day. He left Wednesday's game with an injury. No surprise that Kiwoom without him didn't generate much offense, and they lost the game. And they lost yesterday when he was out of the lineup. He did end up pinch hitting. They do get Yasiel Puig back, which I think will be a nice boost. But man, if Lee he's the straw that stirs the drink for that Kiwoom team. The second he's out of the lineup, in my opinion, you can only go against them going forward. And finally, Hanwha is the team that I would say has the chance to make the biggest improvement, because they now have 2 import pitchers finally in their rotation. Felix Pena, we saw him over the weekend. Now we've seen Jeffrey Ramirez a couple times. They get Jusuk Ha back the other day, who was the guy that had been suspended. And down not too far away, they'll get Rowe back, who's arguably their best hitter. He's one of their best offensive players. So Hanwha's, in my opinion, is a team that can only trend up, right? Because they're in last place. But they're probably a lot better going forward than they've been to this point. And it's because they've got some guys back. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But certainly a team I'm looking at out of the All-Star break would be Hanwha, because they'll have the full complement of players for the first time basically all season.
Some potential play-on, play-off teams there as we head into that second half of the season. And I also have a new favorite saying, the straw that stirs the drink. Big fan of that trick. You just dropped some knowledge there. I'm going to definitely steal that one from you. Brandon, you kind of wanted to do something. Yeah, that was I've heard like the engine that makes the train run, like all those ones. Never the straw that stirs the drink. So there we go. Brandon, you kind of wanted to do a similar, kind of state of the union, state of the league, but you also had some runs per game numbers that you want to break down. So in our takeaway segment, the floor is yours, Brandon.
Okay, I'll take it away. And by the way, our meet and greet in August, I'm going to be giving this jersey away at the meet and greet. So
sharp.
It's kind of cool. I don't know if I'm going to do it. It's actually a high school team. It's actually a high school baseball jersey, because the pro jerseys are all like English. So I thought a Japanese one was better. This says Chiba on the sleeve, so it's a Chiba. It's a high school from Chiba. But anyway, I thought a Japanese one would be kind of cooler to give away rather than an English one with English on it. So anyways, I want to take a look at runs per game. So if you would put the chart up, my handy dandy chart. If you wonder why Kia is in a bit of a tailspin, this chart will kind of tell you why. You'll see on the very right side of the chart, once it's up, there we go. You'll see on the very right side of the chart that Kia is only hitting 2.77 runs in the last week per game. That's not going to cut it. As a matter of fact, there's 4 teams that are under 4 in the last week, 4 runs per game. In the last 7 games, and that would be Hanwha, Doosan, Kia, and Kiwoom. And so if you want to know why Kia is in a bit of a tailspin, they're not run producing in the last week. And if you want to look at the opposite side, who is run producing, the teams that are all over 4 would be LG, KT, and NC. So NC is running really hot right now. So is KT. But as Adam said, KT is losing one of their good hitters. That might go down a little bit. But NC is just absolutely on fire. And if you look at the bottom of my chart there, you can see the average game totals for the last week. And at the top there, I have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So as you would expect, Tuesday, game scores are down 6.1 runs per game. Surprisingly, they're down on Sunday at 7.2, but this is just 1 week, so it's a small sample size. But you can see in the middle of the week on Thursday, the game scores go up, up, up. And that's because teams start using their bullpens on Tuesday and Wednesday. So on Thursday, their bullpens are pretty dry, so they're just throwing in scrubs. So yeah, game scores will go up generally, this is kind of typical for every week except the Sunday number. The Sunday number at 7.2 runs per game, that seems to me quite unusual, but I find the same trend in Japanese games too. For some reason, Sunday, the numbers go back down. Maybe it's because they all know that they get Monday off, so they don't care about resting people. They'll put their good players out there even if they're not rested on a Sunday because they know they get Monday off. Maybe that's the reason why. But scores go up on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Obviously, you want to get advice from Adam and me because we know our stuff. But if you're going to bet on your own, take a screenshot of that chart and note that the game scores are going to go up on Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays. That's just nice to know. And also, this will be a little bit telling of why, Kia is still the number one hitting team as far as run producing on the season. But in the last week, they're awful. So this chart gives me a little bit of recency bias, I guess you could say, or current form, I guess is the better word. So when I make my handicap, I always look at current form because NC, they rank close to last in run production on the season, but in the last week, they're just hitting really hot. So it's good to know, good to take into consideration when you're capping on your own.
There you go. A little how the sausage is made from our guy Tokyo Brandon with that chart. And again, if you're watching on the replay, you can scroll back. You can grab that screenshot right there. But Brandon, I will say, man, you're talking runs and you're not going to throw in like some Bruce Springsteen Born to Run. Like you missed a golden opportunity now, and that opportunity has since passed. Let's get into our feature game for today. I think, should be an interesting one, even though we have the second place team in Kiwoom facing off against the second to last team in NC Dinos. The Dinos actually favorites in this one, minus 145, Kiwoom plus 125 on the money line take back. Their total is 7. Adam, I'm going to start with you on this one. How are you attacking this game? Like, are you personally thinking there's any actionable info in this first game here? And does Kiwoom take another step towards overtaking SSG when this game, pitches off tomorrow morning?
So very simple how I'll look at this game, Dan. It's the NC's an interesting team when they have Drew Rosinski on the mound who pitches here, or like Changmo Koo on the mound, because NC is a bottom team, but they get priced as if they're an elite team when these guys pitch. And Brandon talked about NC scoring runs lately. They have, although 11 runs against Hanwha. It may be that some of they had a 17-run game against Samsung when Samsung pretty much just gave up and threw whoever. So I don't know that I'm going to buy into NC's offense. I don't know if I buy into it being much better as much as they just have run it up on a couple bad teams. They still have a guy out who they'll probably get back after the All-Star break. That will be a big key for them, in their offense. But, this one for me, if Jung-Hoo Lee is out, then you would have to think that NC, even with a juiced up price of like minus 140, could be a good bet. Because Kiwoom with him out of the lineup would be a hard fade to me. Now, Jung-Hoo Lee pinch hit yesterday. Chances are he's probably fine, but we've got the All-Star break coming up. And Kiwoom has built themselves a nice little, lead. I mean, granted, they're still chasing SSG, but if we're talking short term, they've got a nice cushion where they really don't have to take risks with key players, right? Like if a guy's banged up, we're literally 6 games away from an 8-day break. So if a guy's banged up, I mean, it makes more sense for them to not push these guys back. Like there's no real incentive to push a guy into a lineup when they're going to have a week off. So for this game, it's not a game I have any real interest to bet until I know what the lineups are. Because if Lee ends up not starting this game and being out for Kiwoom, I would say NC is probably the side. And even at 140, there might be some value there. But if he's playing, NC just has too many other issues to justify this price. So that's the only way I could look at it. Most likely a pass for me. I just can't get involved with NC as a minus 140 favorite unless Kiwoom's missing some key players.
So, Brandon, you were actually the one who picked this as our featured matchup for today. So I'm intrigued. I'm wondering how are you going to be attacking this game? Because I think that you probably thought that there's at least something to talk about here between this NC and Kiwoom side. So how are you betting this one that goes off tomorrow morning?
See chameleon lying there in the sun. All things to everyone, run, run away. See, I got one in there, Dan.
So, I don't even know what song that is.
It's Slade, Run, Run Away. So anyways, you got to look up. Oh man, God, I'm too old. You guys are too young. Anyways, so here we go. I picked this game before the numbers came out, but I knew that NC would be a heavy favorite. And like Adam said, you got to take injuries into consideration. But if I don't know who's playing, I'm going to assume that everyone's playing with all their good guys. So when I broke this down, Drew Rosinski's going for NC. He's one of the best in the game, always. He's got a whip of 0.94. He's gone against Kiwoom twice this season, and in each time he went 7 innings, 1 earned run, 6 innings, 1 earned run. So he's a stud. He's always a stud. His numbers are better this year than they were last year because of the aforementioned strike zone that we keep talking about. This year they expanded it. So Han Hyun Hee is going for Kiwoom, and actually he's got really good numbers, but if you dig a little deeper, his numbers aren't as good as they seem. He gave up 1 earned run in 3 innings pitched to NC earlier in the season, but he has 8 earned runs in his last 2 starts, and his whip is 1.46, and last year it was 1.33. So he's regressing despite the advantage to pitchers of an expanded strike zone. NC is hitting great. Kia is hitting only 3.3 runs per game in the last week. I'm going to ride the hot hand. I do realize that NC's last 7 run production is a little bit inflated because they put a couple bombs on Hanwha and Samsung, but they're capable of putting up bombs like that, and I think they can do it against this Kiwoom team, especially against this pitcher. I have a 2% client play out for NC in the first 5 innings. I'm not going to trust their bullpen. They used a couple guys from their bullpen yesterday, and their bullpen ranks 8 out of 10, where Kiwoom has the best number 1 or number 2 bullpen with LG. So take NC in the first 5. I'm not afraid of minus 140. If you can get Drew Rosinski minus 140, I think that's value. I have this priced at minus 180. So I would take NC in the first 5. 2% client play.
NC first 5, and you never know when a client play is going to get sprinkled in here on Asian Baseball Today. Brandon, as we get into our series breakdown segment here, I'm going to throw it your way. We're going to head on over to the NPB. We have another Central League matchup here. You want to break down the Yomiuri Giants and the Yokohama, DeNA Bay Stars. You see some money-making opportunities across these 3 games. How are you betting it, Brandon?
I do see some money-making opportunities here. These are 2 of the best hitting teams, especially the Yomiuri Giants, and both of these teams have terrible bullpens. Yomiuri's bullpen is actually worse. Both of these teams. So what I do is before the season is I make a what's the word? A landmark spot, and my landmark spot is 6.5 runs. So how often do these teams go 6.5 runs over or 6.5 runs under? Both of these teams are clearing 6.5 runs this season. Yomiuri is clearing 6.5 runs 61% of the time. Yokohama DeNA is clearing 6.5 runs 55% of the time. And when these teams get together, out of let's see, where's my number? Out of 10 games, 7 of them have gone over 6.5. So today the number is 7.5, which is a little. I have a little bit of hesitation on 7.5, but wait, because DeNA has a real stud on the mound today. His name's Imanaga. He got blown up his last game, but I don't think he's going to get blown up today. So wait on today's game. And in Saturday, or what's today? Friday, yeah. In Saturday and Sunday's games, if you see any 7s, bet the over for this game total. If you see a 3.5 for Yomiuri on Saturday or Sunday, take the over on the team total for Yomiuri's team total, 3.5 over, because they're going to clear 3.5 easily. But I don't know if they're going to do it today. So that's my advice on this series: over 7 or Yomiuri team total over 3.5 on Saturday and Sunday's game, not today. That's my advice.
Yeah, and Brandon's tomorrow is our 2 days from now. It is Friday morning where Brandon's recording from today. So just want to clarify for some folks
but the
there.
Saturday Sunday games are actually around 1-2 p.m. here, so Saturday at 2 p.m. my time will be Friday night your time. So the Friday night and Saturday night games in the US is what I'm talking about.
It hurts my brain just thinking about it. Just buy Brandon's package and he'll tell you when to bet the games. So I want to swing it back to you, Adam, here for your series breakdown. You want to take a look back into KBO at the Samsung Lions and the SSG Landers. I mean, a series win would surely help SSG kind of stay clinging to that first place spot, and they get a Samsung team that's dropped 6 straight. So how are you betting this 3-game set between these two squads?
So the way I'm going to look at it, I want to get involved with Samsung at some point. It's going to be determined whether we'll get the spot to do so. But, my whole thing with Samsung was I can't bet this team because they've got a couple injuries and there's holes in this lineup. But they just put 18 runs up against LG the last 2 days. And that's an LG team that, has a bullpen that's very good. Pitching is decent. So, if Samsung's going to hit, I have to think like their pitching has been okay. Like if they're going to hit, they're probably going to win a couple games. And I think back to the chart that Tokyo Brandon made maybe a week ago, that outlined how, the discrepancy between SSG at home and SSG on the road. And so here, the series is in Daegu. So you've got SSG on the road here. And they're a team that I'm willing to bet against on the road. Now, Friday's game, you're looking at a pretty big disparity in pitching between SSG and Samsung. You've got Kwang-Hyun Kim for SSG, and you have Hyo for Samsung. So that's a big, big difference. But outside of that, I mean, first of all, the price on SSG for tomorrow's game is outrageous. Like, I've seen plus 1.5 for Samsung at like plus 180, which is wild. And if you have one of those books that'll hang a plus 2.5 in a game, I would not put you off from betting that in tomorrow's game. With that being said, there's some rain in the forecast for tomorrow, so this one might get rained out, which I think would help Samsung because they could put Hyo out of the bullpen. But, if they get killed tomorrow, if let's say Kim has his stuff, I'm not a huge, Young Dong Hyo fan for Samsung, so he could get blown up. I think it sets up nicely for Samsung to get a result this weekend. Saturday, they're going to have Albert Suarez on the mound, and you're probably looking at Tae-Yang Lee for SSG. And if SSG does win big on Friday, then you're probably going to get Albert Suarez at a price that you probably shouldn't get him at, right? Like, SSG will probably be a little bit overvalued, which is going to knock the price down on that and make it playable. Typically, you're rarely going to get Suarez at home at a price that's really super playable, but here you might. And then Sunday, Jung-Hyun Baek went on Tuesday for Samsung, but he only threw 83 pitches. And I have a feeling that they would come back with him on Sunday, whereas SSG is probably going to have to either throw Won-Suk Oh for the second time this week, which is could be a disaster in the making, or they'll have to go with exactly. Like they'll have to go with someone else. So Samsung, in my opinion, there's going to be value on this team in this series. There's probably line value on them tomorrow. It's just I don't really have I'm not going to come out and make a best bet trying to fade Kwang-Hyun Kim because I've said all season I think he's one of the best pitchers, import or domestic, in this league. But if you wanted to sprinkle and just take a little shot, I mean, you're talking almost plus 200, and you're getting a 1.5 head start. I mean, that's a good value play in my opinion. And if you can find a plus 2.5, I know some of these books like to hang when it's that far off. They like to throw plus 2.5s out there. I could see that being a solid play for tomorrow's game. But I'll be looking at Samsung on Saturday or Sunday. If the spot is right, it will be a best bet for me. So, that's how I'm looking at this series. I think there's going to be value on Samsung, and I think SSG is a team we can play against on the road right now. So that's what I've got coming up for this weekend in the Samsung SSG series.
So there you go. Some potential ways to bet until we speak next on Monday on our next show. There are 2 series to potentially be eyeing for bettors. Guys, it's everybody's favorite segment now, Best Bet Time. And Brandon, we're going to start with you because you're heading back to the NPB here. Want to remind people, up 341% profit is Tokyo Brandon. You can get him and Adam Trigger right this moment by heading to their pages, wt.buzz/TB for Tokyo Brandon, wt.buzz/AT for my man Trig. So, Brandon, we want to keep it rolling. What are you going with for your best bet?
Okay, so I gave away a 2% client play earlier. This is also a 2% client play that I put out when the lines came out. This is in the NPB, Japanese baseball, and Nippon NPB, Nippon Professional Baseball, I think is what it stands for. But anyway, I just call it Japanese baseball. But so we've got the Nippon Ham Fighters going against the SoftBank Hawks. SoftBank Hawks are kind of like the perennial favorites to win it all every single year, but sometimes they don't kind of team. And this year they're back at the top. Last year they fell down a little, but this year they're back at the top. They remind me of LG in KBO. They're the complete team. They have a good bullpen. They have decent enough hitting, and they have a good starting rotation. So they're kind of like LG in the KBO. SoftBank is. They're playing against the Nippon Ham Fighters. I've gone over this team several times. Tsuyoshi Shinjo is the coach. He's basically treating this as a science experiment. He's just throwing people out, seeing what he's got. I think he's playing for next year, just kind of seeing what he has in his ingredients box. Today, the Colin Ray is starting for the SoftBank Hawks. He had one bad game. Besides that, his earned runs are like 1, 0, 1, 2, 0. I mean, he's a solid stud. He rarely gives up more than 2 runs a game. Going against Uezawa for the Nippon Ham Fighter. Now, Uezawa is actually probably the better pitcher in this game. And because of that, we're getting a good number with the better team. So I'm all over SoftBank here. I'm taking SoftBank on the money line for a 2% play. They have the better bullpen. They have the better hitting team. In the last 7, they're in better form. They're just an all-around better team. This is akin to LG playing against Hanwha in the KBO. And if LG was playing against Hanwha, I don't care who the starter is. If you're getting minus 140, that's a take. So I'm all over the SoftBank Hawks on the money line. It's a 2% play that I put out to my clients. I love it. SoftBank Hawks should not lose to the bottom dwellers in this. The perennial champions should not be losing to the bottom dwellers. I don't care who's on the mound. And they actually don't have garbage on the mound. They have Colin Ray, who's been really good this year. So I think this is great value. Take SoftBank Hawks on the money line.
SoftBank's Hawks on the money line, a 2% play for Tokyo Brandon given out for free. You can grab a 4% play in Japanese baseball from him for just $9 over at his page. Trig, gonna throw it your way. These best bets have been a cash cow. I'm hoping our Thursday show is just as good as our Monday shows usually are. It's time to come back with another best bet. And where are you going, Trig?
Yeah, so this is, I'll actually will bet this. Like, even though it's not a client play, the reason I didn't release it to my clients, I really don't release like 1% stuff as client plays. It's just not my style. But I would play this to win a unit. And part of the reason that it isn't a play is, it's minus 200, and it's the Kia Tigers minus 200. Listen, they've lost 8 straight, but they've been playing the best teams in the league, and they finally got a reprieve by getting rained out twice earlier this week, because the big issue for Kia has been their pitching has just been battered. But the 2 rainouts really help them out big time here, because they get to stack their pitching this weekend. They get to move Thomas Panone's debut to the weekend. They can keep Yu Lee in his regular spot tomorrow. And, Hanwha, they're a team that I do like going forward. I think there's going to be excellent opportunities to make money with Hanwha, but they just played a 12-11 game last night with NC where they used a lot of their bullpen, which they don't really have, right? Like, so they've got some starting pitching back, and they won, right? They managed to come and pull that game out, which means they needed to close it out. So, not a great spot for Hanwha here, and the Kia Tigers, losers of 8 straight. They desperately need a win, and I think they get it in this spot. They have the far superior, Minwoo Kim's been solid for Hanwha of late, but he's not going to throw 9 innings here. And once he's out after the 5th or 6th inning, the pitching options for Hanwha are scarce. Kia, on the other hand, Yuli Lee's a stud, and they do have every single top reliever available for this game. So, in my opinion, you're not going to see Kia come in and overlook the last place team here because they are desperate for a win, losers of 8 straight. So I actually think there is some value on the Kia Tigers, even at minus 200. I would have made this something like minus 300. Given the circumstances. So, like I said, it didn't make my client card because I'm passing for clients in KBO, but I'll throw a unit on this. So Kia Tigers minus 200, best bet for the show. And if you play it smaller, I don't put anyone off making that bet tomorrow morning.
8 straight losses. Trigg says, I don't care. Give me the Kia Tigers on the money line there. And I always like throwing it out there for folks. It's not plus EV. I don't suggest to do it, but for the parlay guys and gals out there, it's plus 166 on the money line parlay on the best bets for the guys, Adam Trigger and Tokyo Brandon. Guys, that's going to do it for us. Another great show here of Asian baseball today. We will be back on Monday. If you like the show, like, subscribe, hop in the comments. You got the guys' thoughts, so give us yours on how you're attacking the Asian baseball slate this weekend. And until next Monday, for Tokyo Brandon, for Adam Trigger, and for Robert behind the scenes, I'm Dan Alexander, and we'll see you Monday on Asian Baseball Today.
Are you tired of games of the year and 100-unit locks? If so, check out the professional handicappers at WagerTalk.com today. We leave all that nonsense for the other guys. And for a limited time, new users get their first daily picks purchase up to $40 for only $1. $1? Whose idea was that? Johnny Detroit? I guess so. To redeem this special, just go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper and their picks package using coupon code TRYWagerTalk when checking out.